Welcome to part 4 of Oriental Empires as Wu. Last time we were carrying on our war against the Han. We did fight one decisive battle, but we didn't really take anything from them. We just went around destroying their farms and failing to attack their cities. Since 2 cities rebelled though, we have screwed them over, and all those farms being gone will have set them back economically. We then had a rebellion in our own territory because I wasn't paying any attention to public order, so now we do need to sort that out. We'll start off with something nice happening to us. The Dongyi, the tribes to our north, offer me some information about my enemies, and this turns out to be the location of the mysterious Shang, the faction that last time declared war on me, but I didn't know who they were, so that didn't really mean anything. Looks like they only have those 2 settlements and no army, so that's good. I'm still not allowed to talk to them. I think we have to have units nearby to initiate diplomatic contact, but whatever. That was nice of the Dongyi to tell us. I also became friends with the Chu, getting the Harmony Pact, so hopefully they won't invade us for a long time. I threw up another settlement, Changsha. This is going to be another military settlement. Since the Changsha and Guanling border to our west and northwest is where I intend to stop building up. There is a limit to how big you can make your empire by just colonizing new lands. We need to throw a road over there, so that's why I've got Nanwu selected here. Also, we're struggling with a tooltip about trade routes being blocked, but I don't think that actually means anything. I think sometimes it says it when you make a new settlement, because technically it can't trade or something. Over in enemy territory, another of our raiding bands is unfortunately discovered, but as we said last time, those raids have already done the damage. I don't mind if they all die at this stage. I've sent an army to go and retake Kuai-ji, and now they are there. Just have to wait for the archers to open up some gaps, and in we go. Because I've got 3 units of archers, we can open up multiple gaps per turn. I couldn't storm in there in the first turn because the enemy defended those gaps, but there will be more next time to exploit. Here's me looking over some of the financial records. It begins. I'm beginning to wonder how the economy works at about this point in the playthrough. I didn't really make any changes based on what I learned this time, but as I've hinted, we are eventually going to have some economic reforms that will sort a lot of things out. Here's an example of me getting a building I don't need with a nice hefty upkeep just because it seemed like a good idea. But even if it seems like a good idea, you do have to do some maths when it comes to trade to work out if improving your trade network actually gets you more money than it costs to upkeep the improvements. Again, we'll come back to it another time. In the next turn's attack on Kuai-ji, we just automatically took the place because we got more breaches than there were units defending, so you don't have to fight in that case. So there we go, the rebellion is over. Looks like another rebellion is starting over in the Ro territory. They're being attacked by bandits. So we need to get our men out of there and just smugly laugh as it looks like the Han might lose another settlement now. I had a thought, which was that I could slaughter everybody in Kuai-ji after taking it. To see if that would solve public order, you can pick sack settlement and it just kill a load of the population for you. But then I thought that is a bad idea overall. They'll probably remember there's the whole past grievances public order debuff. So we're not going to kill everyone, we're going to be nice to them. I'm probably a bad ruler for even considering killing them to shut them up, but it is the Bronze Age after all. They're still outraged right now, but I think they'll calm down after a couple of turns now that the rebellion has been quelled, and that situation is now fine, for now at least. Some more diplomacy now. We're going to officially make friends with the Dongyi. Initially they wanted me to pay them for the deal, but after asking for it a couple of times, we got the deal even with it being completely one-sided in my favour, according to the little abacus thing on the menu there, so that was nice. Now then, I wanted to take a quick look at what the empire looks like, just in case people were wondering, and in particular you can see all those little dotted lines representing the trade network I've got set up, some of it going along the river and hopefully getting a multiplier to its value because of that. All I'm really doing is waiting for these cities to build up to make our economy more profitable. But one thing we can do while waiting around and booming is look into the imperial edicts. These are one-time things that you can make happen in your empire to have some effect. Like for example, we can move to the next age if I get enough money, which we'll need to do to keep advancing our technology. If I was rich, I could have a central bureaucracy which unlocks a whole load of other edicts and effects. We can't do that right now. Basically each one tends to have a downside to doing it and an upside, sometimes a permanent downside as well. After looking through these ones here, I'm going to go with relocate nobles for our choice right now. It increases our authority while giving a temporary debuff to noble unrest. But our noble unrest is pretty much 0, so that's all fine, and the extra authority will allow us to expand a bit more if we want to, so really that's just a free buff. Unless something else happens to reduce noble public order, he said, foreshadowingly. Right now I've got an issue. Looks like one Han unit has come over to attack our territory. It's some noble cav right here, and we can't really counter this very miniature attack because Changsha is too small to recruit any units. We'll have to get units from elsewhere, so I'll get a couple from Nanwu to the east. However, it will take them a couple of turns to walk over to Changsha, and that means those noble cav can have their way with us, and in particular they can just walk into the town and capture it because there are no walls or anything. There we go, we've actually lost something to the Han in this war. That was a bit surprising. At the same time, so outraged was our faction leader that he died apparently. Just dying of natural causes, so Shang Ling is now our faction leader. Cao Bao was the old guy who did very well in the war against Han, up until now at least. So, now we're going to have added public order debuffs coming in. They're not here yet by the looks of things, caused by the succession crisis, and that is what I was foreshadowing just now. Before that, let's see how our counterattack on Changsha goes. We'll get to see in action the effect where if you attack more breaches than the enemy can defend, then you don't have to fight them. So while our long spear peasants waste their time attacking these dismounted noble cav, some other guys just go, well, why don't we go around the back entrance and take the town that way? And the second they touch the edge of the town, you just get it and the fight is cancelled. And handily, the enemies inside are deleted, so we've killed one of their officers right there as well. In the end then, I think that little back and forth over Changsha probably did benefit us, but it was still a nasty surprise, especially for our faction leader apparently. And now in comes the succession crisis. We get a huge problem due to a lack of authority, as our new faction leader will have -3 or something, taking us below the authority limit for the number of settlements that we have. It only really boiled over to becoming a problem here in Gusu. So all we have to do is recruit a massive stack of peasants to stand around and look menacing, and then the nobles won't dare revolt, and we can get away with this. It will cost us some money, but that's just the price. I lost the last of my raiding units at about this time, funnily enough to a rebellion that was running through the territory near Zheng, but then disappeared. Not quite sure what happened, but our guys are gone as well. Back at home, looks like that peasant stack has done its work. Noble unrest will now gradually fade away because your new faction leader's authority gradually comes back up over time as people get used to him or what have you. We've gotten away with things there. Since we have no one left attacking the Han, I thought why don't we be nice and actually end the war officially. Let's just give up on all this. The thing is, they want some big concessions. They want us to give them Changsha and a load of money. No, thank you. They consider themselves to be winning the war, and I can kind of see why the AI might think it's winning the war, because we haven't done that well, but in reality we've destroyed their faction, so they are going downhill and will be fine. I was so outraged I sent a unit to immediately go and start raiding them again after that diplomacy. A few turns later, I've saved up some cash, and now we can enter the Warring States era. This gives us another noble public order debuff on top of the one I already have from relocating the nobles, which still hasn't worn off yet. But I thought it was worth it because we need to start getting new techs. In particular, we can get crop rotation to make our farmers more productive. That's what I was more excited about compared to these other ones, unlocking units and the like, because we're not going to be at war. I'm going for full economic domination strategy at this point. So we just want the farms to be more productive to get our population up, and we want trade to be worth more to get more money. Gonna grab this thing that improves our ceramics to start facilitating that. Some more time passes, and then I make a very interesting discovery. It started when I was looking here at Yunyang, and I noticed there's a bit of farmland that they could have set up, but they haven't bothered to do. So I told them to go and do it. But I thought, well, why haven't they just done it themselves? We're on automate farming mode, aren't we? And as it turns out, we're not. About 40 minutes ago, according to my analysis in the gameplay, it for some reason stopped building farms anywhere, so this must have turned off even earlier, and all the queued farms were gradually built and then everywhere stopped. I mentioned in the last episode that something could have stopped my whole empire going into rebellion, and that was probably it. The fact that we had I don't really know, 10 to 20 turns where most of my towns weren't actually doing anything will have cooled them down and prevented them from rebelling while I wasn't paying any attention to their public order, so that was good. It also did mean though that new settlements like Changsha have just been sitting in their base state the whole time. We've lost out on a lot of potential growth there. But hey, even if we don't have the farms we need, our rival the Han definitely don't have the farms they need either. So I think we're still coming up on top, locally at least. After having automated farming back on for a while, we're safely back in the realm of rebellion. Now we know what we're doing, back in familiar territory. Looking at the rebellion factors, it can be pretty frustrating actually, because it's things like, well, you have a food shortage, so you need to build more farms, but labour service is also a problem, so they don't want to build farms. They're overcrowded, so you need the population to be larger to allow you to upgrade the town, or you need to make money to allow you to upgrade the town, both of which require you to have population basically. And overall, you just can't really solve it quickly. What we can do is get some guys with axes out on the street, and then no one will dare rebel. I think there's still a chance they could rebel even at the public order levels they're at, but luckily they don't. Now in scouting news, we make a fun discovery. The Minyua are still actually a little bit close to us. They've got this settlement down in the bottom right hand corner of the map to the southeast of Kuai-ji across all these mountains and forests. So they're not just way off to the southwest somewhere like we previously saw. No idea why they're so spread out like that. It actually came time to renegotiate our friendship with Minyua, and now they're getting a bit uppity. They were asking me to give them Kuai-ji and a load of money to maintain our Harmony Pact. I negotiated them down to just some money, but even then I think I was being too nice. I mean, why do I even care what the Minyua think of me? We can not be friends, that's fine, I don't think they're a threat to us. But yep, looks like I threw some money away just to keep the friendship going. I guess I want to look like a nice guy. A long time later, something happened in that I built a new settlement. We're completing our triangular empire pretty much here because of the way the rivers are set up, and because I'm trying to get my settlements along the rivers so I can use ports. We've ended up having a nice weird shape, but it might turn out to be defensible having all these rivers along our borders. Now then, it was about this time in the campaign when I sat down and started the reforms that I've been hinting at. Essentially it began with me thinking, over the last, say like 5 minutes of this video, but the last millions of turns, I've built all these economy buildings, I've been investing all my money into my empire, and nothing's really happened. My income hasn't grown very much. So I thought, let's find out what the buildings actually do. And as it turns out, there are all kinds of potential downsides to building economic buildings that you have to think about. It's not indicated to you in the game. The way things actually work is that you have buildings that can transport goods and buildings that can make goods. Any building that makes goods prevents that type of good being transported to that location, and that's the key to the whole reason my trade network doesn't work. To put it in more concrete terms, the fact that I've got pretty much everywhere producing goods to try and stimulate the economy means that my cities can't trade with each other because they're all preventing each other from exchanging trade goods. They all already have everything they need, you could say. So what you're actually meant to do is have the production buildings be in the middle of the empire somewhere, and then in the same places you build the transport buildings, and they will then trade with the places around the edge of the empire, and those places around the edge can save their building slots for military buildings. And that way you end up with fewer buildings in total, so you're not paying as much upkeep, and you make more money on the trade since your own people are actually buying things from your other people and you're taxing all parts of the transaction, etc. So that means my trade network is completely screwed right now. I've got ports that aren't doing anything, I've got loads of markets and bazaars that can't transport anything because certain places aren't producing anything, and the reverse problem where they can't transport anything because the places they could transport to are already producing too many things. That means I need to go through every town, I need to look at whether their buildings are actually making any money by going through the reports, and start just deleting buildings to try and free up space and make a market for the things that my big cities in the middle are currently producing. It's time to reform the economy. Stop trying to sell me your pottery.
If you wanna make cash, there's gotta be a gap in the market to get that money. Yeah! We're reforming the economy, old school. Buy my ceramics now. You can't get them anywhere else, 'cause we burned down all the factories and took all the goods that you already bought from your house and smashed them all. Buy it now.
It seems to work. After the dust settles, the trade networks are still going, and we're making a couple of hundred more per turn than we were before. That's good news, but it is only the beginning. There's still more money to be made, because you can use edicts to make money as well. This one in particular has caught my eye. We can tax farmers. This will give us a couple of extra gold coins per turn per farmer, and because we do have hundreds of farmers, that could add up to quite a lot. However, it will also make them permanently unhappy. You get a permanent and a temporary peasant unrest debuff. That means we need people to be pretty happy before we add this extra tax on top of them. To do that, we're going to have to start actually manually managing the farming to make sure that everywhere that's overworked isn't farming anymore. Plus, we can use the money we're making right now to start investing in all of these city upgrades. Once a place has more than 40 population, you can turn it into a city, and that will reduce the public order problems due to overcrowding. I'm sending a few troops with our faction leader to go and harass the Han. I have to take my faction leader because they'll just rebel if I send the peasants on their own right now. We'll check in with them again in a second because they are going to get into some scrapes. I've also set up a new town between our capital and Kwaiji, so finally that little outpost is more linked in to our empire, although after I upgraded their markets they can actually trade without towns in between them, so they're sort of connected already. But whatever, the more towns, the merrier. Here's an example of me building a caravanserai in a more educated way. This is a building that allows a town to export everything that it imports. So the system we're building here is Wu and Mei Li, our two main cities, are going to produce ceramics and textiles, can't remember which one is which, and then they'll export it to the places near them, and then if there are more places that could be exported to even further away, we use the caravanserai to do that, making sure our trade network gets through our whole empire with as many places not having any goods being produced as possible to maximize the size of the total market. Now then, while I'm ranting, what is going on here? The forces I sent to attack Han have ended up fighting with Chu. What appeared to occur is Chu conquered this Han province that I was raiding, this Han area, while I was there destroying their farms. This apparently angered them, and they've actually declared war on us now. Thus, they started fighting with our men. That is not what we want right now. We're about to boom up, and now I've got a war with a state that's much bigger and more powerful than the Han, as far as I can tell. Looks like they're much more serious, these guys. They're a little bit further away, so that's something. The town immediately rebelled, just to add to the confusion. And there's the confirmation, we're at war with Chu. That's a little bit nasty, isn't it? And our faction leader is in big danger because those noble cav can just attack and kill him right now. We're still behind in terms of our general upgrades. We need to use some edicts to upgrade them to chariots and then to cav. So can they escape from the Chu? It depends what the AI does. We're going to have to try and get lucky there. Since we're starting this big war, we're probably going to spend lots of money, and I thought this is the perfect time for us to get all that extra money from the tax system. So while the little break, the holiday for our peasants, hasn't been as long as I wanted it to be, I thought, well, now's the time. Let's try and get this bread from the peasants and use it ourselves. The moment we implement the policy, our income almost doubles. This was extremely profitable. You can see a couple of cities are now on the verge of rebellion as a result of the tax. However, we're so rich that it doesn't really matter what the peasants think anymore. That's the new philosophy of Wu all of a sudden. We can just hire a load of nobles to do the old patrol the streets with axes thing, and that will allow us to prevent rebellion, and while it costs money, we're making so much money right now, that's not really a problem. We're still going to be making loads of money even after all the peasants are suppressed. We can start using this money to invest in the military buildings on our front lines, so we can finally move away from using just peasant militia from the start of the game and get actual trained troops with weapons, etc. So we'll start the various developments required to get that going. I thought we should probably try and get peace with the Han now, since clearly Han are at war with Chu. We have a mutual enemy. Maybe we can both team up against them. In the negotiations, this time they were much more willing to go in for peace than they had been with previous attempts. I have to give them a little bit of money, but I'm Mr. Money right now. I can give anyone money for anything, since we're about to make a whole load. So fine, we give them a little bit, and the war is over. That's nice. So we'll try and help them out in the war if we can. Or will we? Or will we? Because I suddenly thought, why don't we go and ask for peace from Chu as well? Because, again, we're rich. Maybe they don't really care about us that much. We can just throw money at them. As I increase the amount on the table, it looks like there is an amount they're interested in. We can pay them a few hundred for them to consider a peace deal as being worth their while. But we're going to make a few thousand per turn, so throwing out a few hundred in one turn is fine. Bang! The war is immediately over, and our faction leader is going to be saved, as long as the rebels don't take him down, but I don't think they have any troops there for some reason. We'll be able to get away then, and now we have the added boon that we don't have to raise an army. We're going to keep all the money we made from that cheeky war tax we just imposed on people, and can now use it to start booming up seriously. We can upgrade all of our towns into cities to reduce overcrowding and generally make them a paradise. We can make the cultural buildings like palaces and pavilions, which are expensive, but will improve the quality of our trade, I believe, and they unlock various things, and I think they also reduce public order issues. So overall, while our people don't like paying these taxes, we're going to use them to turn the Kingdom of Wu into a utopia. Let's see how that goes in the next part.